I started this event back in 2017. Our new home at the couch, create a space where people can just share a moment of their lives and not fear judgment, criticism, but feel very empowered to be as authentic, vulnerable, and real as they wanted to be. And we've all been there. You think you're all alone, you don't think anyone cares, you don't believe that anyone will understand, and you think that you can't get out. Right now, someone out there is going through exactly the same emotional process. Your circumstances are unique when you went through it, but the feeling of suck is very much the same. The loneliness, the guilt, the shame, all the dysfunctional stories in your head. Someone's going through that right now.
Surrey Honda features a large selection of previously owned vehicles. Finance and lease rates are available 7 days a week. The parts and service department is only closed Sundays, and there's multilingual staff on site. At Surrey Honda, 15291 Fraser Highway, 1 block east of 152nd.
As Vancouver grows, so does the need for professional legal representation. With over 30 years of experience, Muldoon & Company offers initial consultation where your rights and options are explained to you with no obligation. Offices are located downtown in the Marine Building at 355 Burrard.
I want to give a trigger warning. All the stories that you're going to hear tonight are personal in nature, and they can encroach on dark topics such as addictions, abuse, self-harm. And if you get triggered, please feel free to exit and take some time in the lounge. And then when you're ready, you can come back and join us at any point in time.
In a minute, time stood still. She looked at me and she said, "You have no choice. You have to move forward with preventative surgeries." And she was right. Here I was trying to make a decision about what to do, and she was being faced with the battle of her life. So that's what I did. I moved forward with preventative surgeries. We both did, actually. In 2010, around the same time, we both moved forward with surgeries to move our breasts, our ovaries, and our fallopian tubes. The difference was that I had somehow been given a golden ticket, and she hadn't. It meant that I had to step up and be there for my friend. And that's what I did. I knew that I was strong enough. I knew that I could be there to walk beside her through this and hold her hand. And we did. She was incredible. Her ability to fight for her life astounded me. Her strength astounded me. And she had this way of living in the moment that was so beautiful. And she also had a way of looking at life like it was an absolute gift and that it's not to be wasted. She turned 6 months into 6 years. And in 2016, cancer reared its ugly head. And this time I was ready to be there. We would go for treatment every second week. We would start it was a long day for her. We would start the day with blood work. And then we would have a break, and we'd get to spend time together in different cafes throughout the city or the lounges of BC Cancer. And we talked about everything. We talked about being wives and mothers. We talked about dreaming. We didn't talk about dying, and we didn't talk about cancer. And what she was able to impart on me is the importance of living in the moment and treating our life as the gift that it is. I remember one of those weeks, she said to me, "I'm not going to need you to take me to treatment. My husband is taking me because we're going to meet with the oncologist at the same time." I got the call from her husband the next day that the appointment had not gone well. She was told that there was no further treatments. They had exhausted all efforts. And in that moment, I knew that they had taken away her hope. That was a Thursday. And by Sunday, Marianne lost her battle. I was so angry. Why on earth would she be taken from me? I couldn't rationalize it, and I couldn't understand how life just went on. Everything went on like normal. We got up like normal. The kids went to school like normal. It was like she had never been here. And by the following April, I finally succumbed to the grief and the magnitude of what it was. It took me out. I had busied myself like I had done in the past, doing everything under the sun, doing anything I could for anybody else, never, ever asking myself, what do I need? What do I want? And so grief came, and it was so great that I didn't want my husband or my children to witness it. So when my husband got home from work, I packed my bags and I left. And I headed to the ocean because there was something about being in nature and needing to be close to it that I felt would help me process what I was going through. So that's what I did. I leaned in. I had to get personal with this. This was something that I had never dealt with my entire life, and it was going to destroy me if I didn't. It was like going to the ocean gave me the opportunity to feel into the deep, deep pain, like the waves crashing onto the ocean or onto the shore. I needed it to drown out the pain that I was in. It was almost in when the calm would come, I would recognize that I would surface and I could breathe again, only to be hit again by another round of waves. This went on for 3 days. And after 3 days, I gathered myself together. The tears started to finally subside. And I headed back to my family, my wonderful husband and beautiful children, and decided that I was going to step in and live for the first time, the way Marianne would have. I needed to do her proud. I had to change the pattern of what had been going on my entire life. I felt responsible to do that at the very least for her. There has been so many beautiful gifts in the willingness to recognize that I don't have it all together, and that's okay, and that it's okay to be in pain and sit with it. It's a huge force at times, but the resistance to it is not good. There has been so many beautiful things that have come through the lessons that I've learned on this journey. I had to reach back to my little girl and bring her in and let her know what I've learned, that she's going to be okay, that it's okay to love this deeply and to lose. I have learned to come back to myself, to fully stand in me and embrace all that is possible. Thank you.
My next speaker seems to have processed that, and I'd like to learn from her. So I invite Robyne Shea to the stage to share her story.
Grief. 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 Grief, 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 grief. If you say it enough times, it will actually sound as though a child is singing it like a nursery rhyme. They're playing in the sand castle or just hanging about. And if you say it enough times, grief, 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 like a song, it would almost sound beautiful. It would almost sound perfect, like that child playing in that sandbox. Peaceful. Such a wonderful thing to feel. Beauty, peace. Grief. So you may be surprised to know that I see grief as a selfish feeling, as truly that which is dead feels nothing. It's the living that feels the feelings, and it's the living that relive and replay the memories, and it's the living that shed the tears and prepare the little finger sandwiches and make the calls and write the speeches. The dead feel nothing because they're dead. So I was a figure skater. And for a very long time, I was one hell of a jumper, and as you can tell, I have the thighs to prove it. I very proudly wear my calves with honor and was once told, Jesus Christ, you don't see those every day. So yes, I was a competitive figure skater and a diehard. 40+ hours a week I spent on the ice, learning, perfecting, jumping, and of course, falling. And I fell over and over again until you swore to God that if my body hit the ice one more time, it is going to take the Zamboni to take my wretched body off the ice because I can't do it anymore. Yes, you can. Because there was this woman. And it's funny, you know, how life would play out. But so this woman, her name was Sandra Forrington. Some of my most important lessons I learned because she was my coach. And an amazing woman, scary at times, but a fucking amazing woman. And she stood in the cold for hours to teach me not only the basics and fundamentals of skating, she also taught me some of life's most basic lessons. The fundamental lessons. The hard ones too, but it was the basics that she repeated over and over, such as respect, humility, perseverance, determination, and that it's always okay to fall. But you must get back up, especially when it hurts the most. So I can hear her voice call across the ice, Robyne, get up! And I did, every time. It didn't matter how much it hurt, and it didn't matter how big the bruise was. You got up. Because remember, she's scary. So we called her the Big SF, because her name was Sandra Forrington, and those were her initials, and everyone thought we were swearing, and that was fun at 15 years old. So she was my Sandy. For 30 years, she was my Sandy. And she trained me as a skater, and as well as a mentor, I got to coach and run a club with her for 10 years. So I started from here, and we became equals. She's always better than me, but we were equal. So once a week, we would be in the club room, and once a week she would try to fire me. And she'd say, Robyne, I'm going to fire you. And I'd say, you know you can fire me, but you'll never replace me. She'd laugh and tell me to get my ass out on the ice. So, you know, I used to tell people that if there was a pirate ship and both Sandy and my mom had to walk a plank and I had to choose, goddamn, how could I choose? No disrespect to my mother. They are both beautiful women in their own right. But Sandy and I were that close. So I used to tell Sandy, so Sandy chose for me. She would tell me, Robyne, get out of the rink. You don't want to do this for your whole life. Why are you in here? It's cold and it's dark and kids are crying and there's snot. And you know, why do you want to do this? And I said, I love this shit, and I'm going to do this forever, especially because you're here. So here I am. I'm not leaving. Well, sometimes people make decisions for you. And as Sandy often did, she solidified my decision because I can't go back now. She's no longer there. On November 4th, almost 5 years ago, Sandy died of cancer, influencing my decisions even in her death. Crafty lady. So grief, what the fuck? Who and what and where and why and Murray, wow, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Murray was her husband and is here in the audience today. So when I found out that Sandy passed away, I got this in an email because I was in Belize and I was about 80,000 kajillion miles away. Kajillion's a real word. And I read on my computer that she had passed. So what am I going to do now? I just went numb. I'm going to cry. Yes, I'm a human. So there I sit in my home in Belize, and I receive this email. And I hope to God that this is my dyslexia rearing its head. And I've got all the letters jumbled, and that's not actually what I just read on the screen. So I take a deep breath, and I look again. Wham. That's exactly what's on the screen. Sandy has passed away. So 2 of my children are playing, and my oldest son is discussing his newest website design with his latest client. Yes, he's making websites in Belize. And for the whole world just stopped. And there was silence. Nothing. That is actually what I just read. Flashback to my last call with Sandy, as I'm in Belize and chatting with her in the distant, and she didn't sound like herself, but I just keep talking, you know, and I'm like, you know, I'm telling her all about the things in Belize and the bugs and the culture and the music and the heat and all of this, and all of a sudden she interrupts me and she says, my cancer's back. Oh, she had it once before and she beat it. So I said, okay, and she says, I'm not going to be able to make it in November. Okay. She says, but I'll come as soon as I'm finished all my treatments. And I said, well, of course. She's Sandy. Of course. See you later. I'll see you when you get here. Well, I'm talking, and all of a sudden then she says, I love you, Robyne. Yeah, I love you too. Okay, sure. Wait, what? Huh? Wait a second. Sandy doesn't talk like that. Not at all. And I just, so, okay, whatever. And I keep talking, and the phone goes dead. I think that's weird, and I call her back, and no answer, and I call her back again, and no answer. So I try again, and I think, okay, her battery must be dead, or, you know, this frickin' internet in Belize, third world countries, it's in and out, no big deal. That bitch never answered another one of my calls, because that was her goodbye, right there. Robyne, I love you. So present time, here I am in my house in Belize, I'm shaking, and I breathe. And I calmly put my computer to the side, and I look up at my oldest son, and I say, I'm going to the store. And I got up and I left. And my husband at the time was in line at transport. Now, transport there is like getting insurance here, but they only come to the village once a month, so everybody is there who needs insurance. And so it's a day event. And so I go walking to where he is to find him, and when I get there, the door is just shutting, and I go to open it, and something pushes back. And I'm like, no, I'm going in. So I push it again, and it pushes back. And I guess they've been told not to let anyone else in. Well, this, of course, pisses me off. I'm coming in now. Move. I need to get in. And I push the door open, not knowing to me that my husband is actually on the other side of that door. So I look at him. He looks at me. Instantly, his face drops. Now, he's a brown man. He went white. He says, Robyne, what? He says, what's wrong? What's wrong? What happened? And I just looked at him, and all I could say was, Sandy died. That's it. No explanation. Sandy died. And I'm sure after that moment that it was probably him that held me up, because I don't remember much of that evening. I remember a friend taking us out for dinner. I have no idea where we went, and there's not that many restaurants in Placencia, Belize. And I don't remember what we ate, and I have no idea what we talked about. And I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, as often as I do when I have a feeling, I run. So I went for a run that morning, and as I'm sweating, I decided that Sandy would think pouting about the Caribbean because of her death is a very stupid and selfish thing to do. And Robyne, get up. What are you doing? So grief. Holy shit, here we are. Hi, how are you? I'm Robyne, your grief. Nice to meet you. We're sitting together. And I decided to do exactly that. I sat with my grief, and every morning I got up at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I went to the coffee shop before anyone was there. And I would sit in, everyone called it the life tree because it had survived many environmental things, and it was this big, beautiful tree. And I would sit with this tree and talk to my grief, and we would have a conversation. And we'd ask each other how we were doing, and we would talk about our memories and the laughter and all the things that Sandy and I did together. Lots and lots of laughs. And it helped me to understand that I don't have to be sad. And I don't have to let anger take over, or fear, or anxiety, or depression, or anything negative at all. I can find laughter in the memories, and I can find lessons in the sound of her voice, and I can find joy in the smell of an ice rink. And I can find bliss in the sound of a freshly sharpened blade cutting into the clean ice. And there's no shame in finding happiness in your grief. I'll say that again. There is no shame in finding happiness in your grief. So my beautiful counterpart said, and I quote, "The weird thing I found about grief is there's a small period when you wake up and it's not your first thought for the first time in a long while, and you miss it." I pondered this for a bit. And then I thought, well, yeah, it makes us feel better. Like we have something to hold on to comfort us, and to make us feel better. A selfish anchor to what? Our own ego, because that's where grief is housed. So I have since also lost my father, and he died one day before I was supposed to see him after not seeing him for 6 years. We talked often, no drama between us, we just didn't see each other much. And he had a thing for Winnie the Pooh. So when I was 25 years old, he bought me Winnie the Pooh pajamas. They were pink. 25, Winnie the Pooh pajamas. I have an older sister. Her name is Kristen. My name is Robin. Got it? Okay. So yeah, so he had a thing for Winnie the Pooh. So there's a park near where we used to live, and my oldest son and I used to walk through this, and he deemed it the 100-acre woods, and we used to play Pooh sticks. Okay, and for those of you who don't know what that is, and there was an Eeyore tree and Tigger's house and whatever. So myself and my 2 younger children and my beautiful counterpart that I have now, we all went for a walk, and we were talking about all this Winnie the Pooh stuff. And my youngest daughter, she starts to get upset, and she starts acting out at her brother and me, and she's just freaking out. And all of a sudden she sits on a bench and she starts to cry. I'm like, oh, okay. So her brother goes over and says, "Charlie, what's wrong?" She doesn't say anything. "I want Mom." So I go over and "Charlie, what's wrong, honey?" And she says, "I miss Grandpa." No. She never got to meet her grandpa. So this one's a little layered. Here she is suffering from her grief, and it's layered for me. Because here I am, the mom of this beautiful little girl, and I have to deal with her grief, which is based on my father, who I'm the daughter of, who she never got to meet. And so it's layered because there's a bit of guilt for me that she never met him. And had she been able to meet him, perhaps this might be a little easier for her. So I sit for a minute, and then I hear another voice. And I hear this voice say, "Robyne, you were born with a heart 4 sizes too big. You can handle this. Nobody has a heart like yours. Just open your mouth, and you'll say the right thing." It's not Sandy's voice. It's my father's voice. So I say, I'm a yogi, so I believe in all that like earthly stuff. And I said to her, "Do you miss Grandpa?" And she says, "Yes." And I said, "Well, that's okay, baby. Of course you can miss Grandpa. But why do you miss him?" And she says, "Because he's not here." Well, he's right here, honey. He's everywhere. He's in the water. He's in the sky. He's in that bird. He's in the air. And every time you speak, he's here to listen. Well, she thought that was fabulous. She thought that was the coolest damn thing in the whole wide universe, that Grandpa's everywhere all the time. Yeah, baby, he is. So there she is, and now she feels content and she feels happy in her grief. And I have been able to help her find happiness. And now she's smiling, and now she's building a little house for him, for his spirit to live in. And it's Eeyore's house, of course, right? And if you don't know what Eeyore's house looks like, again, I say. So I have learned through my grief that many more days with Sandy or my father would not have changed my opinion of who they are. My love, appreciation, gratitude was far long already solidified and given. Sure, I would have gained a few more memories, possibly replacing some new ones. But would the extra time have changed how I feel about them? No, not at all. If anything, sometimes I love them more now because they don't talk back. Now, I can still talk, and now they have to listen too, right? And I can talk for a long time, as you can probably tell. So I've learned enough lessons to share and pass along and keep with other memories alive. And with each next generation, and mention some of those lessons are the simplest and valuable ones, like get up, especially when it hurts. Love, compassion, the ability to have an honest conversation with myself, to find the beauty in every situation, and of course, the constant get up, especially when it hurts. Now, we can't always predict the future, nor can we change the past, but we do have this moment. And we possess the ability, and we can choose to be present right now, in this moment, right here, right now. As you never ever know what beautiful moments will be fond memories that you are creating for someone right now. Thank you.